All right, guys, here we are at chapter 9, and it is called Negotiation. A method of bargaining so that you can reach an agreement. I think you've probably all negotiated with a younger sibling or maybe an older sibling before. Like, tell you what, I will do the dishes for 2 days if you will just do this for me tonight, right? So you kind of like make a deal and bargain so that you can all agree on something. Okay, so we all know the book is called The Lemonade War. And from what we know, Jesse and Evan have been in war since they each started their own individual lemonade stands. But if you look there on the side, it says, why does Evan decide the war is on? What changed from the beginning of the chapter to the end of the chapter? So it sounds like they've been in battle already, but now it's like something major must happen. Evan's like, you know what? It's on now. Let's see what happens. Okay, so here we go, chapter 9. Negotiation. Evan looked up from the marble track he was building when Jessie walked in the front door. She looked hot. She looked sweaty. She looked happy. Really happy. Like she just got an A+, or like she just won a war. What are you smiling for? Asked Evan, holding a marble at the top of the track. No reason. Jessie put her hands on her hips and stared at Evan. She looked like one of those goofy yellow smiley faces, all mouth. Well, quit looking at me, would ya? It's creepifying. You look like you're going to explode or something. Evan dropped the marble into his funnel. It raced through the track, picking up speed around the curves. It passed the flywheel, sending the flag spinning, then fell into the final drop. When it reached the end of the track, it went sailing through the air like a beautiful silver bird and fell short. The marble landed on the ground instead of in the bullseye cup. Evan muttered under his breath and adjusted the position of the cup. Raise the end of the track, said Jessie. You'll get more loft. Evan looked angrily at her. The marble had fallen into the cup for the last 10 minutes every time he'd done it. Why did it have to fall short of the one time she was watching? Don't tell me what to do, he said. Why was she smiling like that? I didn't tell you what to do, she said. I just made a suggestion. Take it or leave it. She turned to walk up the stairs. Grumpmeister Fink, she tossed over her shoulder. Evan threw a marble at her, disappearing back, but missed by a mile. Well, he hadn't really been aiming anyway. He just wanted the feeling of throwing something. He'd been feeling the need to throw something these past 4 days. Grumpmeister Fink, that was the name of a character he'd made up when he was 6 and Jessie was 5. That was back when Mom and Dad were fighting a lot, and Evan and Jessie just had to get out of the house. They'd scramble up the climbing tree. Evan had his branch, Jessie had hers, and waited out. Sometimes they had to wait a long time. And once, when Jessie was thirsty and impatient and cranky, Evan had said, Be quiet and I'll tell you a story about Grumpmeister Fink. Grumpmeister Fink was a man who was cranky and mean and made everybody miserable. But deep down, he wanted people to love him. It's just that every time he tried to do something nice, it turned out all wrong. Evan had made up a lot of stories about Mr. Fink in that tree, but after Dad left, there just weren't any more stories to tell. No one in the world besides Jessie and Evan knew about Grumpmeister Fink, and Evan hadn't thought about him in years. Hey, he said sharply. He heard Jessie stop at the top of the stairs, but she didn't come down. Do you want to call this whole thing off? He asked. What? She shouted. This lemonade war, he said. Call it off. Yeah, he said. Just say nobody wins and nobody loses. Jessie walked down the stairs and stood with her arms crossed. Evan looked at her. He missed her. He had spent the whole day, the third to last day before school started, by himself. It stunk. It totally stunk. If Jessie had been around and they hadn't been fighting with each other, they could have played air hockey or made pretzels or built a marble track with twice as many gizmos and launched the marbles into the bullseye cup every time. Jessie was very precise. She was good at getting the marble to go into the cup. What do you say? He asked. Jessie looked puzzled. I don't know, she said, frowning. You see, Megan kinda, well, she... Evan felt his face get hot. Megan Moriarty. Every time he thought of her, his throat got all squeezed and scratchy. It was like the allergic reaction he had if he accidentally ate a shrimp. You told Megan Moriarty about everything? He asked, feeling itchy all over. No. Well, what's everything? Asked Jessie. Evan thought she looked like a fish caught in a net. You did. And suddenly Evan knew exactly why Jessie had been smiling when she walked into the door, and why she didn't want to call off the war. She had done it. Again. She had figured out some way to show the world just how stupid he was, like the time he'd come home with 100% on his weekly spelling quiz. The only time he'd ever gotten every word right, to find that Jessie had won a statewide poetry writing contest. He'd thrown his paper into the trash without even telling his mom. What was the point? Evan didn't know how, but somehow Jessie'd found a way to earn more than $103. She was going to beat him. And Megan Moriarty knew all about it. And she would tell everyone else. All the girls would know. Paul would know, and Ryan, and Adam, and Jack. Scott Spencer would know. Can you believe it? He lost to his little sister, the one who's going to be in our class. What a loser. You know what? He said, pushing past her. Forget it. Just forget I said anything. The war's on. O-N. Prepare to die. Whoa. So that was a quick, short chapter. At the beginning of this chapter, Evan's kind of like, you know what? I've missed my sister. This is ridiculous. Everybody wins. Let's just walk away. And the more he thinks about it, the angrier he gets. The more he tries to figure out why Jessie is smiling. He thinks about what his classmates may say, and he just gets angrier and angrier and angrier. And then he's like, you know what? It's on. The war is on. Forget what I said. Battle is going. And he's just really, really mad. So a lot of this story has to do about perceptions and how you perceive a situation, and whether your perceptions are accurate or not. And, the consequences of why you think things are happening the way they are. See you at chapter 10.